Roller sets. Welcome to roller sets. It's actually one of my most favorite things to speak about. I think once you explore roller sets, you'll find that you possibly could agree with me. With doing roller sets, it would teach you a lot more about your base and your control and creating direction. So when you go in to style somebody's hair, when you learn about roller sets and their base and the control, it allows you to understand better about hairstyling and the way that you would use possibly your curling iron or even when you're using your hands. Why study roller sets? They give you the most amount of hold when you're doing a updo, or if you're just going to do a set and allow that to dry. It is one of the most versatile ways of setting and doing wet setting. It teaches you proper sectioning and good practice for perming, which you're going to take in semester 2. Teaches you to work with really clean sections, and it allows you to see what is off and on base and what a curl looks like in those different types of direction. Teaches you how to temporarily manipulate the hair using a different type of texture. Setting the hair for future styling. What would that mean? That would actually mean when you were going to possibly do an updo. Most people who get into bridal, you have to preset the hair. In my experience, I've usually used rollers and preset the hair, and that way it was much easier to put up and a lot less work. And then I find it stays up and is structurally better in an updo. So that is why you would use it for future styling. Now you ask, why else would I use a roller set? Why wouldn't I still use pin curls? That is a good question. Well, roller sets versus pin curls. 1, rollers hold the equivalent of 2 to 4 pin curls. So that is a lot less work when it comes to actually doing the set part of setting the hair. The hair is wrapped around the roller using tension, and which it gives a much stronger and lasting set. So you cannot create as much tension even if you're trying to work your ribboning into your C-curl. The hair still settles and does not have as much tension, where if you're rolling it around a magnetic roller, it lasts a lot longer and you have a lot more tension to that actual curl. So rollers come in different variety of sizes and shapes, widths and 6s. That means it's like shorter in the width. And when we get out the rollers, you'll see that there's some that are possibly cut in half. They come that way. You could cut them in half. In fact, you could be very creative. I know some people who've used pop cans to set their hair, and you could find sponges. You could find almost anything and use that as a roller, as long as it's something that is fairly decent and lightweight that you can clip into the hair somehow and leave it there for a certain amount of time. You could even use different shapes. So think about it this way, which is really experimental, and maybe we'll touch base in class, but you could use something that maybe is a triangle or a rectangle to create a different type of texture. So that could be quite fun, and it really gives it that avant-garde and artsy type of look to the hair. So both pin curls and rollers require time to set, so it needs to be 100% dry before brushing it out. And by doing that, you've created a very long-lasting curl. The parts of a roller or a curl. So we've looked at this when we looked at doing our pin curls, and it's basically the same. So to do a pin curl or a roller, you're always going to look at what the base is, and we're going to play with some bases coming up like this week. We're going to go and take a look at the difference between doing a base on a pin curl and doing a base on a roller. And hopefully you'll agree with me that doing roller bases are way easier than pin curl bases. So the base is the panel of the hair in which that the hair is rolled, or the hair itself in the curl formation is placed on top of. So the base could be in different different widths or different lengths depending on what you're trying to create. But the base is the part that is closest to the head, or you could say it is part of base is on scalp. And then there's the stem. The stem is the hair between the scalp and the first turn of the roller or your pin curl. And that is the part that doesn't have a curl. It gives it mobility. And then the curl, also known as the circle, is the hair that is wrapped around the roller. And it is determined by the size of the roller that you put in, which determines the type of wave that will come out. Now that we have this information, to understand better how to choose what roller you want, it would depend on what kind of curl or wave you're looking at. So depending on the length of the hair and the size of the roller will determine the curl or the C shape or the wave that you're looking for. This is basically a rule that can't be broken, so it is important to remember this kind of information. So once again, depending on the hair length and the roller size, it will determine if the curl will be a C shape, a wave, or a curl. One complete turn around the roller will create a C-shaped curl. That means that just being able to direct the hair going backwards. So if you see in this first photo here that the roller has come, or the hair has come around the roller one complete times, right? So here is the stem. This is where the curl starts. So you're coming right around one complete time. See how it just gives that direction. It directs the hair backwards. It doesn't give it any curl. You're just creating that direction around the base of the hair and causing it to flow whatever way that you created your C shape to go. If you are turning the hair over here, if you're going to turn it a complete 1.5 turns, it will give you a wave. So here we have like that wave going through the hair. If we come over here and we're going to go around 2.5 times, so 1, 2, and then 1/2 times, which is here, you can kind of see inside that they've drawn it in here. So it's 1, 2, and 1/2 times. That's when you finally get that curl happening. So your section should not be any wider than what your roller is. Once you've figured out what the width of your roller is, that's how you take your section. And then we go into the roller placement. So the roller placement, or the direction of it, is using the roller, and it depends on the size of the roller that you're going to use, is the amount of volume that you're going to have to the hair. As well as it depends on how the roller sits in the base. So it will depend whether it's going to sit on base, or if it's sitting off base, or if it's half on, half off. So the larger the roller, the greater amount of volume. So remember, if you're having a large roller and the hair is not going around it, okay, so 2.5 times, you're not going to get that curl. Also, the larger the roller, sometimes with the weight of the hair, it might actually not be able to hold the curl. So those are part of the things that you're going to have to learn, and every hair is kind of different. So that becomes the experimental part of learning and playing with different types of hair and learning what different types, whether it's fine or if it's already got a natural wave into it, if it is quite coarse, all of those different types of hair react differently to a roller. And that is part of just having that experience and being able to play with the hair. So the larger the roller, the greater the volume. Remember to have your curls and your rollers direction should be predetermined. So you can't just put a roller in and think it's going to go the right way. So that, once again, is looking at the base and the direction of the base that you are causing the roller to flow in. So usually the hair is rolled away from the face or the hairline, and that's a usual. It depends on the style. Perhaps somebody wants the hair coming straight down, so you can pull a little bit of that curl in around the face. it's all up to you, and this is kind of your creative rule. A downward wrap gives you the best option, so that means that you'll be able to style it maybe a few pieces forward just to have that wispy look around the face, or maybe you're going to pull it all back. Indentation is the point where two rollers meet, forming a recessed area. So example, a fringe. So if you're rolling the hair forward for a fringe, but all the rest is going backwards, you're going to have an indentation there. And possibly that you're going to have to break up that indentation with some teasing or back combing, back brushing, and that's at a later point that we're going to take a good look at that. So basically in class we're going to use the magnetic rollers, but there is all sorts of other rollers that are out there on the market. So there is Velcro rollers, and Velcro rollers are basically used the same way, except for they should only be used on dry hair. So if they're set onto wet hair, they tend to pull at the hair. There's hot rollers, and hot rollers heat up in the machine, and remembering your bases and the flow and direction that you want, they can be put in the hair, and they're used on dry hair as well. So you're creating all sorts of different roller sets. The hot roller, you should remember that you should let it cool down 100% before you're taking that out, and never use it on wet. Here's a close-up of your Velcro roller. Velcro rollers are not to be used on wet hair because they'll pull at the hair. They are used without heat. I do like to mist like a little bit of hairspray on the hair as I put each roller in. Something that is just kind of a working hairspray. I don't want to use anything too hard because it becomes too stiff in the hair. And then I'm going to leave them for 10 minutes. It's up to you. I've left them in longer as a client is sitting off to the side. I've also put them underneath like a nice warm dryer and then let the dryer cool off. So I'll take my hood dryer, turn it on while I'm putting the rollers in with my hairspray, and then I'm clipping each one down because I like to have them in there so they're not slipping out. And then I turn off my dryer, but I set my client underneath the dryer. So this is a little hip pocket information. And then I let the dryer cool down. And then once I've pulled out the rollers, so they've come out of the dryer, and I pulled out the rollers, then I can start doing a beautiful comb out. So a comb out, no matter whether you're using your hot rollers, your curling iron, your regular magnetic rollers, which are fantastic. I love the magnetic rollers. Or your Velcro rollers, you're going to always do a comb out. So the comb out is the part where you take out the rollers or your curling iron set or whatever. And this is where you start to do either your back brushing, or you're going to brush out some of the curls, or you're going to finger loosen your curls. And this is the actual styling portion of it. This is where you get to use your creative outlet and create that beautiful style for your client. Once you have started getting into rollers, this is kind of an idea of what a blueprint will look like. And if you look closely, you can see the direction that some of the arrows are pointing. The fringe was directed over and kind of down. And here we have rollers flowing over on one side and some pin curls over here. And then these rollers here are flowing down. So here is where your indentation is. So this is kind of where the part would be for this style. And then the rest are all flowing backwards. Once your wet set is done drying, and then you get to do your comb out and have your beautiful look for your beautiful client.